Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome back. As we leave 2025 and stare down the barrel of another delightful 365 days, I wanted to take a few moments and do some beginning of the year predictions for the NBA in 2026. 2025 was an awesome year in basketball. Luka Doncic was traded in the craziest deadline move in NBA history. The Thunder and Pacers gave us an awesome 7-game finals series. Eurobasket over the summer was a really great watch, and tons of stars like Giannis, Luka, and Şengün shined for their respective nations. And now this season, the Thunder are on pace to breaking the 2016 Warriors' 73-9 best record ever, and the Knicks are NBA Cup champs. Pretty good way to end the year if you ask me. But now, let's look ahead. 2026, what do you got in store for us? In this video, I'm going to give my predictions for who I think will win all major awards, as well as a couple other things in the NBA this year. We're just going to get right into it. I predict the OKC Thunder will win the 2026 NBA Championship. It doesn't make a ton of sense to save this prediction till the end, because even though it's a biggie, the Thunder have made themselves the substantial favorite in any series with the level of play they've been at this season. They currently have what would be the highest relative defensive rating in the modern era, as well as the highest net rating ever. To highlight their defense for a second, out of all players in the NBA to play at least 15 minutes per game in 20 games this season, the top 5 individuals with the lowest defensive rating are all OKC members. That's absurd. Chet Holmgren has become a better offensive player. The shooting efficiency, including from 3, better footwork in the post, a bit stronger. It wouldn't surprise me if he got an all-star nod this year. And J-Dub is coming back from injury, but he's working his way back into the form he was in last season, and the 3-point efficiency is better. I'd just like to see that 4-ish a game volume come back. Also, a breakout from a guy like AJ Mitchell has just added another layer of scoring and playmaking when SGA isn't on the floor, and that makes this team even harder to deal with. And on top of that, they maybe have the best depth in the league. I was watching the Thunder play the other night, and Kendrick Williams was in the game. I remember thinking, if Kendrick Williams was on any other team, he's probably anywhere from the 2nd to 4th best bench player, maybe even a starter for some teams, but he's OKC's 11th or 12th guy. They're the greatest in the world. What more could you want me to say? For most improved player, I'm sticking with Ryan Rollins for now. We'll reevaluate this stuff at least one more time before the end of the regular season, but at this moment, I still like his case the most. Playing double the minutes, admittedly, but it's not Rollins' fault that Giannis is hurt and Milwaukee is butt, so he stepped up in a full-time starter role. He's already played more minutes this season than he did all of last season, and again, I said it in a video about the Bucks a few weeks ago, but to go from nearly out of the league to an unremarkable bench player, and then turning into a starter averaging 17 and 6 on good efficiency. According to Cleaning the Glass, the Bucks have a 116.6 offensive rating when Rollins is on the floor, a top 9 offense versus their 19th offensive rating in totality. I will say, Keyonte George and AJ Mitchell are giving a real push for this award, but considering where Rollins was prior to this season, I still find it more impressive than Keyonte's leap, and Mitchell was only in his 2nd season, so he wouldn't really be in consideration for me. For the 2026 Defensive Player of the Year, I'm predicting Chet Holmgren wins this award. I'll address the obvious because there is a second prediction built into this one, and that's that Wemby won't reach the 65-game minimum requirement for this award. Wemby would have to play in 49 of the Spurs' remaining 54 games, and I'm just not sure how realistic that is. But Chet anchors what is truly a historic defense and is one of the very best individual defenders in the league. He's got some of the best timing I've ever seen from a defender, elite positional versatility and IQ on that end, and he's still not the best post defender, but his insane size and reach makes him a hell of a rim protector. Also, his defended field goal percentage is the 7th best of any forward center. I just think Chet has an ironclad case with his individual dominance and team success. The only other players I'd really consider so far would be Bam Adebayo and Amen Thompson. Both are the best defenders on top 5 defenses. It would be awesome to see Bam win one in his career. As for Amen, he'll definitely be on the shortlist for several years to come. And reigning Defensive Player of the Year Evan Mobley is just not in the equation right now. One, because he's been hurt, now dealing with a calf strain, and it's had him lagging behind defensively, but also the Cavs have not been impressive this season and are currently 15th in defense. For the 2026 NBA MVP, I predict Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will win it. It's looking like it might be an OKC sweep this year, and honestly, it makes sense. They're an all-time team with all-time great players, and it's all coming together in this moment. I mulled over who I thought would win MVP for a while, going back and forth. There are such great players in this conversation, and it's impossible to guess how things will go this far out. But the way I see it, the top three in the MVP race for the vast majority of this season has been Luka, Jokic, and SGA. Luka is averaging 34, 8, and 8 on the 3 seed in the West, which looks really good on the outside, but the turnovers and lack of high-end efficiency is limiting his ability to match Shai or Jokic's impact. I think he can play better, but it's going to take a meaningful stretch of him cutting out the fat from his game right now before I put him in conversations with them. Now, Jokic is averaging 29.5, 12, and 10 with the best efficiency of his career, somehow improving from last year. He's leading the best offense in the league by a comfortable margin while sneakily having a bounce-back season defensively. But the idea of averaging almost 30 on over 70% true shooting is genuinely unheard of. We're witnessing peak offensive mastery. He recently passed Kareem for the most assists by a center in league history. Nothing more needs to be said about Nikola Jokic. He's a top 5 center ever, a top 15 player at least, 3-time MVP, champion, it's all established. But the longer he sustains such a high level, the harder it becomes for him to exceed expectations and win an award like MVP again. Take for example LeBron, whose last MVP was in 2013, but he was still the best player in the NBA for another 6 or 7 years. Shai has certainly closed what I thought was a pretty comfortable gap that Jokic had as the best player in the world through last season. I'd still take the big man in that regard, but it is close enough now that when you factor in the gap OKC has between themselves and the rest of the league, it's hard to imagine Jokic puts together a better case to voters. Which, that's another thing. These awards are voted on by media members, analysts, sports writers, and they can have biases, subconsciously fall victim to voter fatigue, or just get something plainly wrong. It happens, which is why these awards aren't the end-all be-all. But for now, I've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander going back-to-back as the league MVP. Alright, now that we have a champion and league MVP set, let's look even further into 2026 and predict who will be the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft. My prediction is that AJ Debonsa gets selected first. Now keep in mind, I'm not a draft expert or even a big college hoops guy. Once they're in the league or doing stuff at an international level, I've got the capacity to pay attention, but I'm still not there with collegiate players. But as I'm aware, the top 3 in this year's draft are AJ Debonsa, Darren Peterson, and Cam Boozer. Darren Peterson is a can't-miss big guard. Cam Boozer is a versatile elite offensive forward that's NBA ready. And then there's AJ, who as far as I can tell is definitely the rawest, but if everything came together has the highest potential. And that's what I'm banking on. A 6'8", hyper-athletic wing with ridiculous scoring capabilities. Why wouldn't you take a shot on Debonsa? The only reason I wouldn't take AJ is if whatever team ends up with the first pick goes to a contender, on some OKC gets the Clippers pick type shit. And for the final NBA prediction of 2026, the NBA Cup champs. I want to pick OKC, they likely would have won it if not for getting caught off guard by the Spurs, but you know what, I'm going to go against the grain. The Cup is all about teams that can catch fire and go on a run early in the season, and in its 3 years of existence, no one has managed to repeat as Cup champions, but I'ma say screw it and lock in my New York Knicks as the first team to go back-to-back in the Cup. There's absolutely zero reason I can give for why. This is so far out at this point, entire teams could look different by December, but whatever. New York forever. Okay, that's going to do it for this one. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you predict will happen in the NBA this year. I'd love to hear them. Other than that, check me out on Twitter and Medium, TikTok too. That's all for now. Stay safe and see you in the next one.